Hare Krishna, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining another Sunday morning to study Srimad Bhagavatam. We are very fortunate today that Tulasi Radhika Mataji, Her Grace Tulasi Radhika Mataji, is going to guide us on the next set of verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is going to be her first Bhagavatam class. She is a disciple of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Her main services are Pujari services, deity dressing, cooking for Radha Madhav. She's an amazing artist. She decorates festival altars. She's a great cook as well. She cooks for Sunday feasts and festivals as well. She's very simple at heart and her hospitality is amazing. Thank you so much, Tulasi Radhika Mataji, for accepting our invitation to guide us on Srimad Bhagavatam. I hand it over to you now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the introduction. It's by the mercy of Guru, Vaishnavas and Radha Madhav. Thank you for inviting me to speak. First of all, I would like to seek blessings of all the Vaishnavas assembled and my spiritual master before I begin. So we will be singing Jai Radha Madhav, followed by invocation prayers, and we will offer respects to Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll begin from there. Jai Radha Madhav, Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha, Radhari, Yashodanandana Jagananjana, Yamuna Neeravanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Radha Madhav ki Jai. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarobhischa Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, last week we had an absolutely amazing class by Sutapa Prabhu on text 8, 9 and 10. And today we will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, titled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwarka, text 11, 12, and 13. So I'll read all three verses, translations and purports, then I will give some reflections on it. So 1.11.11. Madhu Bhoja Dasharharha Kukurandaka Vrishnibi Atmatulya Baler Guptam Nager Bhogavatim Iva. Madhu, Bhoja, Dasharha, Arha, Kukura, Andaka, Vrishnibi, by the descendants of Vrishni, Atma Tulya, as good as himself, Bale, by strength, Guptam, protected, Nage, by the Nagas, Bhogavatim, the capital of Nagaloka, Iva, like. As Bhogavati, the capital of Nagaloka, is protected by the Nagas, so was Dwarka protected by the descendants of Vrishni, Bhoja, Manu, Dasharha, Arha, Kukura, Andaka, etc., who were as strong as Lord Krishna. The Nagaloka planet is situated below the Earth planet, and it is understood that the sun's rays are hampered there. The darkness of the planet is, however, removed by the flashes of the jewels set on the heads of the Nagas, the celestial serpents. And it is said that there are beautiful gardens, rivulets, etc., for the enjoyment of the Nagas. It is understood here that also the place is very well protected by the inhabitants. So also the city of Dwarka as well was protected by the descendants of Vrishni, who were as powerful as the Lord, insofar as he manifested his strength upon this earth. 1.11.12. Sarvartu sarva vibhava punya vrikshalata shramehi udano pavanarame vrita padma karashriyam. Sarva, all, ritu, seasons, sarva, all, vibhava, opulences, punya, pious, vriksha, trees, lata, creepers, ashramehi, with hermitages, udyana, orchards, upavan, flower gardens, aramehi, pleasure gardens and beautiful parks, vrita, surrounded by, padma, akara, birthplaces of lotuses or nice reservoirs of water, shriyam, increasing the beauty. The city of Dwarkapuri was filled by the opulences of all seasons. There were hermitages, orchards, flower gardens, parks, reservoirs of water, breeding lotus flowers all over. Purport, Bashila Prabhupada. Perfection of human civilization is made possible by utilizing the gifts of nature in their own way. As we find herewith, in the description of its opulence, Dwarka was surrounded by flower gardens and fruit orchards, along with reservoirs of water and growing lotuses. There is no mention of mills and factories supported by slaughterhouses, which are the necessary paraphernalia of the modern metropolis. The propensity to utilize nature's own gifts is still there, even in the heart of modern civilized man. The leaders of modern civilization select their own residential quarters in a place where there are naturally beautiful gardens and reservoirs of water, but they leave the common men to reside in congested areas without parks and gardens. Herein, of course, we find a different description of the city of Dwarka. It is understood that the whole dham or residential quarter was surrounded by such gardens and parks with reservoirs of water where lotuses grew. It is understood that all the people depended on nature's gifts of fruits and flowers without industrial enterprises promoting filthy huts and slums for the residential quarters. Advancement of civilization is estimated not on the growth of mills and factories to deteriorate the finer instincts of the human being, but on developing the potent spiritual instincts of human beings and giving them a chance to go back to Godhead. Development of factories and mills is called ugra karma, or pungent activities, and such activities deteriorate the finer sentiments of the human being and society to form a dungeon of demons. We find herein the mention of pious trees, which produce seasonal flowers and fruits. The impious trees are useless jungles only, and they can only be used to supply fuels. In the modern civilization, such impious trees are planted on the sides of roads. Human energy should be properly utilized in developing finer senses for spiritual understanding, in which lies the solution of life. Fruits, flowers, beautiful gardens, parks, and reservoirs of water with ducks and swans playing in the midst of the lotus flowers, and cows giving sufficient milk and butter are essential for developing the finer tissues of the human body. As against this, the dungeons of mines, factories, and workshops develop demonic propensities in the working class. The vested interest flourish at the cost of the working class, and consequently, there are severe clashes between them in so many ways. The description of Dwarka Dham is the ideal of human civilization. 1.11.13 Gopura Dvara Margeshu Krita Kotaka Toranam Chitradvaja Patakagre Antaha Pratihatatapam. Gopura, the gateway of the city, Dvara, door, Margeshu, on different roads, Krita, undertaken, Kotaka, because of the festival, Torana, decorated arch, Chitra, painted, Dvaja, flags, Pataka, agre, by the foremost signs, Antaha, within, Pratihata, checked, Atapam, sunshine. The city gateway, the household doors, the festooned arches along the roads were all nicely decorated with festive signs like plantain trees and mango leaves, all to welcome the Lord. Flags, garlands, and painted signs and slogans all combined to shade the sunshine. Purport. Signs of decoration in special festivals were also collected from the gifts of nature, such as plantain trees, mango trees, fruits, and flowers. Mango trees, coconut palms, and plantain trees are still accepted as auspicious signs. The flags mentioned above were all painted with the picture of either Garuda or Hanuman, the two great servitors of the Lord. For devotees, such paintings and decorations are still adored, and the servitor of the master is paid more respects for the satisfaction of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So now I will go on to give some reflections about these verses. So last week in Sutapa Prabhu's class, 2 points that especially stood out for me were: 1, Krishna's smile is the ultimate benediction of a devotee, and 2, when a devotee turns towards Krishna, he becomes qualified to see Krishna. And Sutapa Prabhu also shared with us an acronym for summarizing the first canto, SLAP, SLAP. So today's verses fall under the letter A, which stands for attaining the absolute. So now we will move on to follow Krishna's journey into Dwarka as we discuss verses 11, 12, and 13. So here, Krishna has returned to Dwarka, and the description is given of the city of Dwarka, the festivities, the mood, and about the personalities that are protecting the city, and also of the devotees who are welcoming him and glorifying him as he enters the city. So people in Dwarka without Krishna were very morose. And so when Krishna came, it was like new life was breathed into them. They were overjoyed. They made grand preparations. They came out of their homes to welcome Krishna. And Dwarka Dham is described as so opulent and so grand, So it also had its own special security to protect the city. So text 11 states that the city of Dwarka was protected from all sides to protect the residents. So this is compared in the text to Bhogavati, which is the capital of Nagaloka. Nagaloka is where the celestial serpents Nagas reside, and the Nagas protect their city, Nagaloka. And so Nagaloka is a lower planet. It is below the earth. And one mention of Nagaloka comes when Bhim poisoned Duryodhan, and the second when Duryodhan poisoned Bhim, and the second was when a celestial serpent was attracted to Arjun. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about these stories. So Duryodhan was very envious and the Pandavas were exalted. This was a really problematic get need to get my brother Pandu took care of me. Become so the never hurt his sons. Mean acknowledging at us sides, and Duryodhan said he would kill 100 home. Bhim remained to be
Harishna Mataji, there seems to be some delay or distraction. There seems to be some network issue. It looks like we have lost Mataji. Apologies, everyone. Let me connect her on her phone.
So Duryodhan put enough poison in Bhim's food to kill 100 people and fed him the food. But nothing happened. He carried on with the festival. At the end, when everyone went home, Bhim remained, and he fell asleep by the side of the river. So Duryodhan arranged for Bhim to be tied up and thrown into the river. Bhim sank, and the Nagalokas pulled him all the way to the realm of the Nagas. So the Nagas bit the body of Bhim, and somehow it neutralized the poison in his body. So the poison from the Nagas mixed with what Duryodhan had given him, it neutralized, and he became conscious again. So he was lying in Nagaloka with ropes around his body. So he expanded and broke these ropes. When the Naga king found out, because his assistants came and he said, we have a problem. We have Bhim down here. He's running around and everything's out of control. What should we do? So the Naga king, he assumed the form of a human and he came before Bhim. Then he recognized him. He said, oh, it's you, Bhim. We would like to give you a gift, some Naga elixir. If you drink one vessel of this, it makes you as powerful as 10,000 elephants. So Bhim, being Bhim, he drank 3 or 4 of these and he fell asleep. When he woke up, they had a ceremony and a festival. Then they said, I think the people up there will be really worried about you. So I think it's best if you return. So Bhim was on his way back. Meanwhile, in Hastinapur, Kunti counted her sons and one was missing. They said, oh, Bhim was just resting, he'll come later. But Kunti was very concerned about her missing son. So she went to Uncle Vidur and he said, don't worry, Vyasadev said these children will have a long life and they'll be virtuous in their affairs. So don't worry at all, he'll be okay. Kunti had so much faith and surrender in Vidur's words. And sure enough, Bhim returned. When Bhim told his brothers what had happened, Duryodhan, they said, Duryodhan fed me poison, they tied me up and so on. Yudhishthir could then understand, we have a big problem here. Sorry. So he said, we have a big problem here. So this was one Nagaloka incident, and another was when Arjun was dragged by one Naga princess through the medium of water. She wanted Arjun to accept her request to become her husband. So Srila Prabhupada would say, that the medium of water is sometimes one of the entryways to enter other lokas. And he would say that yogis can dip themselves in water and appear in another place hundreds and thousands of miles away in an instant. So the Nagas are mystical. They can present themselves in various forms at will. So here the comparison is made that just like how Bhogavati is protected by these powerful Nagas, in this way, personalities in Dwarka, the descendants of Rishni, are made powerful by Krishna because he empowers them in order to protect Dwarka. And in the translation, he mentions names of some of these personalities, for example, Bhoja, Andaka, and so on. So from this text, we can draw out a few points. Each of us have a unique quality or opulence that Krishna has blessed us with. If we collectively use this in his service, then if we all use this in unique ways to spread the movement, then we are not far from Krishna consciousness reaching every village in the world. However, if we don't use our opulences in Krishna's service, then we are simply feeding our false ego. For example, George Harrison used his fame to spread the holy name. Henry Ford used his wealth for Krishna's service, and Srila Prabhupada used everything, every moment, everything he had in Krishna's service. So Srila Prabhupada stressed this point of using our opulence or talent or skill in Krishna's service, and I will now share some parts of letters that he wrote on this topic. So one letter in 1968 states, my first request to you is that you are getting a job again in the Ohio State University. You must accept it without hesitation. In the Bhagavad Gita, you have read that one should fully utilize one's talent in the service of the Lord. Arjun was a military man and he utilized his talent fully for executing the purpose of Lord Krishna. So by the grace of Krishna, you have got some educational talent. Wherever there is opportunity to get some mercy, you must accept it, but use it for Krishna. In another letter, Srila Prabhupada wrote to a disciple, it would be very nice if you could make silver jewelry for Radha Damodar deities, and in this way, your talent will be used in the most perfect way. So there are so many examples like this. In one letter, Srila Prabhupada wrote, I'm very much pleased to see your good handwriting. I shall therefore request you to utilize your talent in the service of Krishna. And another really nice one that I found was, he writes, yes, it is your good fortune that you can serve Krishna in so many ways: to work, to write, to speak, to paint, to build. All of these talents must be employed in Krishna's service. That will make you perfect. We are so fortunate to be in this human form of life and to have an opportunity and capacity to serve Krishna. And there is very little time. We must do as much each day as we possibly can to serve Krishna and to become always engaged in the thoughts and activities of Krishna. Maya may try to pull you in different directions, but we must simply persevere. And gradually it will become easier and easier to keep engaged in Krishna conscious activities. And pray to Krishna to please keep us always engaged in the service of his lotus feet. Krishna is very kind and he is never ungrateful. He will give you more and more opportunity to serve him. That is his mercy. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 verse 8, Shabda ke purusham rishu. I am the ability in man. So he gives us what we need if we have the desire to serve him. So we all have certain abilities, but sometimes those talents can also make us proud. If we remember that these talents are not our entitlements, they are given by Krishna and to be used for him, then we will use them in a mood of loving service. So moving on to 1.11.12. So in the purport of 1.11.12, Srila Prabhupada establishes the comparative understanding that what is the spiritual world and what is the modern day material world. So one thing that stood out for me was 3 times in the purport, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes the importance of nourishing our finer senses, finer sentiments, and finer tissues. So he repeats this word finer 3 times. And he says, we need to nourish our finer tissues, finer sentiments, and finer senses in order to develop potent spiritual instincts. So we will look at this in more detail, focusing on this word, because every little thing we do matters. So just remember the Tesco tagline, every little helps. So Srila Prabhupada describes the holy city of Dwarka here, something that we can all relate to. We live in a city setting as well. So we can draw a few lessons from this. So Srila Prabhupada spent significant time describing the beauty of Dwarka and how it is necessary to have flower gardens, fruit trees, and all these things were there in Dwarka. In modern day society, this doesn't exist in every roadside. I was listening to a class and someone was saying that in their country, in America, before there used to be fruit trees along the sides of the roads, and the government decided to take it all off because it was, according to them, it was littering the whole street. So now it's a bare street with none of this there. So in modern day society, this doesn't exist very much. Trees are mainly grown for fuel. There's no fruits or flowers on those trees. So in a class by Bhakti Charaswami, he mentioned that as a child, he remembers that on the roads of Kolkata, the roads were washed with Ganga water twice a day, and even this doesn't happen. And Jayapataka Swami was once in a car with Srila Prabhupada driving along the main road, and he said he was remembering that Srila Prabhupada said in his childhood there was some jute factories and jute mills along the main road, and jute is a natural fiber used to make cloth and other things. So a lot of these natural things were used before, and now that same road is full of truck repair factories, garages, and so on. So people from the villages are moving to the city to work in factories. The situation in the city after staying in a slum type area becomes difficult, and all that frustration combines, and they start to engage in intoxication, gambling, and so many other things. So it becomes a very polluted situation. Although they want money, but money is not everything. The real purpose is going back to Godhead, as Srila Prabhupada says. And he is giving everybody this opportunity. So many times we feel that only villages are beautiful, we should move to quiet, rural locations. But this verse actually shows us that wherever we are, we can make that place beautiful if Krishna is kept in the center. So it is mentioned here that Dwarka was covered by all this whole beauty, flower gardens, and so on. So this shows that the environment that we stay in strongly affects our consciousness. Our consciousness, our mindset is so sensitive to the environment that we live in, to the thoughts we have, to the food that we eat, the music we listen to the way we dress, to what we look at. Even the way someone looks at you affects your consciousness. So to go to the Shuddha Sattva platform, one has to go to the Sattva platform first. So to go to pure goodness, we have to go through the level of Sattva Guna, or goodness, being Sattvic. Then through Sattva, we go further. So our consciousness drives our life. So Srila Prabhupada called the society International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So nowadays, the word mindful is very popular. Be conscious, be aware. So for us as devotees, we must accept what is favorable to our consciousness and reject what is not. A sattvic mind assists in sattvic living, sattvic thinking. Also, the environment where we stay affects our consciousness. So what happens when we go to places like the temple? Automatically, we feel so relaxed, we feel so peaceful. If we if we create a cluttered consciousness, then our mind is cluttered. We like to live in a cluttered environment, dirty consciousness, dirty places, sattvic mind, sattvic living. So our thoughts influence our actions. Everything we do creates an impression, an imprint, which then influences your future actions and reactions. So this is how by our choices, our activities, we develop a certain pattern of action, then it becomes a habit. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, pungent activities deteriorate the finer sentiments of the human being and society to form a dungeon of demons. So many times, for example, we see in a country or place that has, if it has dirty streets, then people don't shy away from just throwing things. If it's dirty, they carry on making it dirty. If it's a clean place, then people are more inclined to keep it clean. So I'll give you quite a funny example. In April, we were in Vrindavan and the taxi driver was taking us back to Delhi airport. So we stopped at the Delhi temple for darshan. And so the taxi driver drove into the driveway of the temple, which was really nice, spotlessly clean. And then, just then he opens his door and he's just about to spit pan all over the floor of the driveway. And just then Jagannath Seva shouts, "No, nahi!" It's literally like a slow motion movie scene. Luckily, he stopped just there. So it's like a habit. He's so used to doing that he just didn't think that this is a temple. So habits are hard to change, but it requires a change in consciousness. So in a lecture, I heard something quite profound. The speaker said, when we think of green consciousness, we think of the environment, being environmentally friendly. But we have to understand why we do what we do. And he said, how do we obtain green color? Yellow and blue. So Krishna is what color? He's blue. Radharani is yellow. So when we combine yellow and blue, so Radharani consciousness, Krishna consciousness, you naturally have green consciousness, which is the mood of Lord Chaitanya. So when we hear about the sensitive behavior of Lord Chaitanya, his devotees, It really helps us to develop a finer consciousness, finer emotions to make progress in Krishna consciousness, assisted by trying to make our environment favorable to support this. So one example is Madhavendra Puri. He was so afraid of even Prajalpa, for example, that he would travel alone to places because he was so afraid of this. So it just shows us how we can take these lessons from our previous acharyas. So on a practical level, we can begin by making at least our house environment favorable, our surroundings clean, looking presentable as devotees, not appearing scruffy. So Gopal Krishna Maharaj was giving a class to a group of youths once, and he also stressed the importance of looking clean, not dressing presentably, not looking scruffy, not having beards, long hair, and also in Srila Prabhupada's letters, I read that when a disciple had given his long hair and beard up, Srila Prabhupada said, "I'm so glad to learn that you have sacrificed your long beard and hair." Like this, there are so many quotes of Srila Prabhupada on this topic. He said in a conversation, "I stress on this cleanliness very much. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Cleanliness of the heart, the body, the speech, environment, and so on." So when we think of spiritual consciousness, a spiritual place, we think of cleanliness, beautiful fragrance, and this creates a nice atmosphere. ISKCON temples are known to be clean, and we must continue to uphold that reputation. Once Bhakti Swami visited a hospital to see someone, and the hospital was so dirty, there were mice running around. So he went and he told the temple management that this is not how hospitals should be, so dirty. And the management said, they acknowledged that, and they said, actually, we should learn cleanliness from ISKCON temples because of their standard. Another example is when Radhanath Swami visited Bhaktivedanta Hospital, and of course they would have like a nice clean bathroom if he needs to use it. So he reached and he needed to visit the washroom. So they were taking him towards that special one. And he said, no, actually, I want to use the one that the common man uses. So that was a very clever way to find out the level of cleanliness. And he said many times, hospitals should be sparkly clean. So if our consciousness is evolved, then our actions will be in sync to support this. It is difficult because it's not part of our system, so it takes that extra effort. But if we start to ingrain it, then it becomes easier. So we spoke about cleaning the environment, the body, but what about our consciousness? When we bathe our consciousness with stories of the pastimes of the Lord, Krishna Katha, then it purifies our consciousness. Machita matkata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantas chamam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. So when devotees meet, they converse about Krishna and they bathe each other's consciousness in Krishna Katha. So if we are conscious of our actions and what we are feeding our minds, bellies, and so on, at the same time bathing our consciousness in Krishna Katha, then we are on the right track. So Srila Prabhupada was once asked, how do we know your devotees? How do we identify the Hare Krishna devotees? So you might think he'll say they wear dhoti, kurta, sari, neck beads, but no. He said, a Hare Krishna devotee is a thorough gentleman or gentlewoman. So as our consciousness evolves, our behavior evolves. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, don't try to see Krishna. Act in such a way that Krishna wants to see you. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that advancement of civilization is estimated not on the growth of mills and factories to deteriorate the finer instincts of the human being, but on developing the potent spiritual instincts of human beings and giving them a chance to go back to Godhead. So I was just reflecting based on these points that actually our temple on Granby Street is in such a perfect location. It's like an oasis in the middle of the desert. So much opportunity where people can go and transform themselves, go back to Godhead. It is in the center of Leicester, surrounded by all kinds of craziness happening around, Ugra Karma on all around. You see all four principles being broken. So when you look around, you see people who are actually looking for something higher. So it's actually perfect location where they can come for this. The moment you step into the temple, you feel like you're transported in a different world. So through our consciousness and principles, we can create this oasis for the people around. What is an oasis? It's a beautiful place in the middle of the desert where people can go and quench their thirst, find some peace there. This is what people are looking for. And that place where everyone can come for nourishment. So ISKCON Leicester on Granby Street is that perfect place. People can come and see Radha Madhav, serve them, bathe their consciousness in Krishna Katha, and transform their lives. So moving on to 1.11.13. So in 1.11.13, Srila Prabhupada describes how Dwarka was decorated with gifts of nature, like plantain trees, coconut palms, mango trees, flower gardens, and signs were used to make a nice shade for Krishna as he walks through. So nowadays we see when a VIP gets a grand reception, it's nothing like this. It's like champagne parties and things like that. Completely different mood. So a few days ago, we saw the preparations for the Jubilee, Queen's Jubilee, and the celebration included gun salutes. The Royal Air Force was making a display. So the consciousness is so different to the Dwarkavasis. We never heard of rose water being sprinkled in the streets of London and flower cannons throwing flower petals on the Buckingham Palace. None of that happens nowadays. So we may have a say over, we might not have a say of what happens in our country, of how our streets are decorated, but how can we apply this to us? We can make our temples beautiful and so attractive that when people pass by, they want to come inside, have darshan of Radha Madhav. We can make our festivals as amazing and attractive as possible. And in this way, people will be drawn towards the temple. Festivals act as catalysts in our Krishna conscious journey and gives us that push every so often that we need. And Vedic culture is so beautiful, so colorful, so festive and meaningful. When we have a festival, everything is made extra special. The prasad, the outfits for the deities, the garlands, the decor, the temple is clean, sparkly clean, made fragrant, and everybody makes an effort to dress extra special to receive the Lord. And everybody eagerly awaits for the darshan of Radha Madhav. Some people travel far to come, from far to come and see Krishna, and everybody is so happy. So this year, when we were in Vrindavan in April, when it was Ram Navami, it also happened to be the auspicious day on which Srila Prabhupada installed the deities in Vrindavan. And so they celebrate Ram Navami as a double celebration every year. This occasion of the installation is known as Brahmotsav, and it's given equal importance as Janmashtami and Radhashtami. So it was really, really beautiful to watch this. The deities were taken on a procession, the smaller deities, and through the temple compound, and they had different stops where people would would take darshan, and their palanquins were decorated with loads of flowers. And wherever they stopped, they offered arti, and lots of devotees brought offerings. And then after visiting the temple grounds, the procession proceeded towards the MVT, and they decorated the gates and everything with all these things mentioned in this text. So there were banana trees, the mango leaves, there were rangoli decorations made of rice, and the whole path from the gate all the way to the garden was filled with rose petals and divas. It was really beautiful. Then there was kirtan accompanying it, and the whole festival was full of positivity. So everything in Vedic culture is so full of meaning. Why do we use mango leaves, banana leaves? Because it drives away negative energy. And coconuts are so auspicious. They are even used when we honor someone, exchange love, and so on. So these trees and all these things create a positive atmosphere. In the same way, in Dwarka, the Dwarkavasis arranged this way, and they're relishing the sight of Krishna. Krishna is accepting their offerings. So Srila Prabhupada gives the example. It's like when you offer a lamp to the sun. The lamp is so almost insignificant compared to the sun. Or how when we worship the Ganga, we take a bit of the water and then we offer it back. So whatever the Dwarkavasis have is due to the mercy of Krishna, but still they are giving these gifts to Krishna to show their love, and Krishna is accepting. They're anxious to see that smile of Krishna. And as Sutapa Prabhu said last week, Krishna's smile is the ultimate benediction of a devotee. So further in the text, it is stated that the flags were painted with the signs of Garuda and Hanuman, who are the carriers of the Lord. So, so through this, we can learn that Krishna is so pleased when we glorify his devotees, when we glorify such devotees of the Lord. Everything is so beautifully connected with Krishna, either directly or indirectly. So there is a saying in India, Sadhu Santa Yeti Ghara Tochi Diwali Dashara. Sadhu Santa Yeti Ghara Tochi Diwali Dasahara. Whenever devotees come to your house, whenever devotees of the Lord come to your home, it's like a festival for the family householders. The excitement, the preparation, and even more fortunate than that is when a devotee comes to your house unplanned, a devotee just comes, or if they ask to come to your house. So we get purified by serving Krishna's devotees, and by serving devotees, we can advance in Krishna consciousness and experience true happiness and joy. So there is no question of unhappiness in the life of a devotee if Krishna is in the center. So if a devotee serves and glorifies the Lord and his devotees, then every day is a festival in Krishna consciousness. Wherever we keep Krishna at the center of a festival, it enhances the festivity. So Srila Prabhupada said in San Francisco in his Rath Yatra speech, he said, so this Rath Yatra festival is a mass movement for enlightening people to this Krishna consciousness movement. We have got so many other festivals in Krishna consciousness movement. We have got Janmashtami, Ramnavami, Julan Yatra. So there are 12 months and we have got 24 festivals as big as this Rath Yatra festival. So if you kindly take to them, then as advised by Lord Chaitanya, Kirtaniya Sadahari, you will always be in Krishna consciousness and there will be no scope of your frustration and confusion. So Krishna is so merciful. There are so many stories of people whose lives have transformed even after having one darshan. The idea of meeting Krishna and connecting with him is so powerful, and everybody connects with him in their own unique way. So in Mumbai, we met one devotee and we asked him how he came into Krishna consciousness. He explained he actually came to Mumbai to become a Bollywood actor. Then he came across devotees and the temple, and this transformed his life. Now he's actually a temple president in one of the temples in Bombay, and his other service is to direct the dramas for festivals. There's also stories of robbers turning into devotees. There's one story, I think in Srinathji, where a robber saw jewels on the crown of the deity. So one day he tried to climb it, and he stepped on the Lord's hand to reach the jewels on the crown. But actually the Lord interpreted it as he's actually offering his whole self to me. So like this, Krishna is so merciful. Even robbers turn into devotees because Krishna is impartial to all. His affection for his devotees is like a display of a parent who has many children, and the parent is equally looking after all the children, but as a duty reciprocates when a child comes running up to him asking for attention or offers some service to please him. So in Bhagavad Gita 9.29, Krishna says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dvesho stina priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mai te teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So when Krishna entered Dwarka, even prostitutes, outcasts, they lovingly greeted Krishna. And Krishna, being so affectionate to all, he unhesitatingly reciprocated to each and every person's devotion. So two of Krishna's prominent qualities, he has so many qualities, but these two qualities I found really interesting. They are called Nimish and Animish. Nimish means blinking of the eyes, and Animish means no blinking of the eyes. So whenever a devotee commits a mistake, Krishna becomes Animish. He closes his eyes and he overlooks the mistake. On the other hand, when somebody offers even little service to Krishna, he notices and he magnifies that with his wide open, unblinking eyes. That is Jagannath. So I want to conclude by saying that on the 7th of August is Leicester Rath Yatra. The Lord will be giving his darshan. So if we all engage our various skills, as explained in the 1.11.11, if we all engage our various skills, natural tendencies in the service of the Lord, then we can have a very grand festival. So this is our opportunity to give Krishna consciousness to as many people as we can, an opportunity for people to experience festivity, union with the Lord, union with devotees. And collectively, if we all do this, then we can make it absolutely amazing, bring Krishna into the hearts of as many people, and please Srila Prabhupada. So if we reflect for a moment and think about what opulence, talent, or skill you have that you can use in Krishna's service, or perhaps in Rath Yatra this year, one way in which you would like to contribute, then you can feel free to share. Whether it's your strength, wealth, an instrument, maybe good handwriting to write nice signs, cooking, etc. And if your opulence is wealth, if you're good at making money, then contact Sachitanya Prabhu. I'm sure he'll be very happy. We need that wealth for Krishna's service. Lord Jagannath is coming very soon with his animish quality, his eyes wide open. So let's prepare, let's welcome him, just like the Dwarkavasis welcomed Krishna when he returned. Thank you very much for listening. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tulasi, Radhika, Mataji. Thank you so much for wonderful class. I request all the devotees to come forward and share their reflections, or if you have got any questions, you can ask.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I don't have a question. I just have a small comment that I just want to thank you for your lovely class. And I think this topic is perfect for you, who is always beautifying the Lord's altar, temple, arena, wherever we have deities, you're always there serving and making the place beautiful. So you're a wonderful example. Thank you very, very much. I really enjoyed your class.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Tulasi, Radhika, Mataji, it
Krishna.
is indeed an amazing class. You've used your own personal examples of your journey to dhams and other pilgrimage sites, Srila Prabhupada's examples from the Shastras in Srimad Bhagavatam. This, I would say, this is not a class, this is a master class. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for encouraging. Thank you very much.
There are no questions. It looks like everyone is very happy with your beautifully decorated class, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for really sweet comments and so much encouragement.
And hoping to hear from you again and again.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this encouragement. I was so scared. I know I turned it down so many times because of that fear, but you've given me that, that beginning to start. And yeah, I hope to speak again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Tulsi Radhika Mataji ki jai.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone, for participating. Meet again next week with another wonderful speaker. Hare Krishna.